Tonight on UCentral News, as we enter the home stretch of the election season, early voting in Edmond has begun. Shanice Hopkins will have more from Midge Park. Are we finally getting that fall weather? Gwyneth Duncan will give you all the details in your weather report. What is on the Oklahoma ballot? Jake Ramsey will give a full Oklahoma ballot breakdown later on. And in sports, the Yankees kept their World Series hopes alive last night. Luke Underwood will give you all the highlights in sports. All that and more on this Wednesday edition of UCentral News.
Live from Central Oklahoma, this is UCentral News.
Good evening, I'm Ian Nickel.
And I'm Lauren Jackson. Welcome to this edition of UCentral News.
In Virginia, a win for Republicans in the final days leading up to next week's presidential election. Wednesday, the U.S. Supreme Court decided to allow the state to purge suspected non-citizens from voter registration rolls. This decision came without any explanation and over the dissent of the court's 3 liberal justices. Virginia Republican officials sent the case to the Supreme Court after a federal appeals court upheld a ruling to reinstate the registrations of about 1,600 people. A federal judge found the purge violated a federal law that blocks systematic voter roll removal 90 days before a federal election. Republicans, including former President Donald Trump, framed the effort in Virginia as a common-sense way of ensuring non-citizens don't vote. But the Biden administration, voter rights groups, and lower courts said the program potentially disenfranchised an unknown number of citizens.
Early voting in Oklahoma began today, and in Edmond, voters are already lining up to make sure their voices are heard. UCentral reporter Shanice Hopkins went to Edmond's polling location to hear from residents who are casting their ballot.
Well, today marks the first day of early voting, and I'm here at the Multi-Activity Center in Midge Park, where you can see a lot of residents are ready to cast their ballots. A couple of these people behind me told me this is their first time early voting, so I heard their why. With just 1 week out from Election Day, locals are trying to get ahead, even if it means standing in line for hours.
It's just too important to wait. It's not something I want to put off. It's not something I think anyone should put off, and I think if someone has the ability to do it as early as possible, they should take that opportunity to do so.
For many, voting in this election is more crucial than ever, pushing them to vote sooner than later.
Well, I wanted to vote. This is, as you can see, it's historic, evidently, at least in my time, and that's a long time.
There's a bigger turnout. There was a big turnout when Obama was running, and I think that has a lot to play into it.
If you plan to vote, make sure to go to your registered county and bring a valid photo ID and/or your voter registration card. If you are registered to vote in Edmond, the MAC Center will be open from Wednesday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Reporting from Edmond, Shanice Hopkins, UCentral News.
Oklahoma State Superintendent Ryan Walters demanded $474.9 million in reimbursement from Vice President Kamala Harris. Walters claims that their administration has, quote, led directly to an enormous financial burden on all Americans, especially Oklahomans, end quote. Therefore, Walters wants reimbursement for Oklahoma taxpayers because the impact illegal immigration has caused. Walters ends his letter saying repayment is warranted and will provide an inadequate foundation as Oklahomans work together to solve the emergencies you and this administration have caused.
Well, Ian, how about that cold rain today?
Oh, man, it's amazing. I was so fired up. It was like 60 degrees out. But Gwyneth Duncan's going to give us our first look at weather. Gwyneth?
And looking at reflectivity right now, that cold front is moving southeast across our state with lots of storms, and those storms have hail cores. It's looking dangerous. It's coming in at a super high wind temperature. It's just really bad. And then if we jump over to velocity, it just gets even worse. Looking at this, you can see there's a lot of different colors here. That's not looking too good. We're looking at hail about 1.5 inches along. It's just not looking too good, and we have 80-mile-per-hour winds. This cold front is bringing lots of winds, and it's moving south across our state. It's going to bring a lot of stuff, so you're going to want to keep an eye out for that, because as it moves across our state, it's just going to keep getting worse with that cold front. And then if we jump over to our current conditions, as you can see, we have 82 degrees, still fire weather advisory because of those high winds. We're sitting at 33-mile-per-hour gusts still. It's not feeling good out there, and with that is coming humidity. We're sitting at 74% humidity. We currently do have a 20% chance of rain. That's because of that dry line that's been crossing our state. Just scattered storms. That rain chance will go up with that cold front, though. You're going to want to keep an eye out for that. We currently do also have a tornado watch for Edmond until 9 p.m., and our winds are going to be switching north tonight. We will get another warm front Friday and then a cold front Saturday that's going to bring rain these next couple of days. That's all I have for you guys right now. I'll have that full forecast with those severe threat risks later in the show. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Gwyneth. Social media posts about election issues in Arkansas have raised some concerns. The post that's circulating claims voting machines at polling location in Craighead County is switching votes. But as Chase Gage reports, election officials and voters just say that isn't the case.
How easy are voting machines to use? Are they creating errors when it comes to voters' ballots? I took a trip to the Craighead County Election Annex to get those questions answered. I met with Jennifer Clack, who is the Craighead County Election Commissioner. Before the polls opened for the day, she let me test out multiple machines to see if any issues arose when selecting candidates. What we're going to do is we're going to go test out some of these machines.
Absolutely. Pick a machine, wherever you want to go.
I like this one. I don't know why, but that one right there. It is. We tried out 2 different machines, making sure to select every candidate for every race multiple times in that process. Neither of us experienced any issues. So everything so far so good there. I'll check the same thing down here for Congress, for Treasurer. Once we were done, we double-checked the test ballots for accuracy and then promptly discarded of them. Then, just for good measure, I hopped in line to exercise my civic duty. So I just went through the process myself, got my I voted sticker here, and I do have to say that the process was very simple. It was very easy. Once I got into the booth, I had no issues with the machine, and if you don't trust what I have to say about it, I spoke to a handful of voters after they went through that process as well.
No, it's been very simple. Getting in, finding a parking spot was the hardest problem we had. Everything else went like a charm.
So when you're actually clicking on them, all smooth?
No problem whatsoever. It was great.
No, it was super easy. We enjoyed it and loved bringing the kids out.
Oh, it was very easy. You went in, gave your information, and you're in and out.
When you were actually in the booth using the machines, did you have any trouble with the machines?
No.
It went great. It was very smooth. The line was great. The process, the machines were great. Everything seemed very self-explanatory.
Did you have any trouble trying to select candidates?
No, no trouble at all. It was very smooth.
Election officials advise that anyone who encounters any issue with their ballot to reach out to a poll worker.
People in Bucks County, Pennsylvania have until Friday to take part in the state's so-called on-demand mail voting. Pennsylvania does not offer early in-person voting, but it does allow voters to apply and get mail ballots in person at county election offices. The move comes after the Trump campaign asked for an extension of the program. They filed a lawsuit against the Bucks County Board of Elections for allegedly turning away voters who showed up to cast their ballots that way Tuesday. That was the last day that the service was to be offered. The lawsuit claims election officials turned away people who were in line before the 5 p.m. deadline.
The center at UCO is hosting a free haunted house tonight at 6 p.m. The event is to encourage students to get HIV tested. I spoke to a UCO student that planned the event about what students should expect to see.
The center is hosting a safe sex haunted house from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight. I was able to interview a coordinator for the event.
About different things, so we'll be talking about like HIV and AIDS and like BDSM and stuff like that. Just like inform other students about like what is safe sex.
The haunted house will feature safe sex quotes like "consent is sexy."
It's all like 80s kind of theme. So like that, like the cheesy kind of horror stuff, but safe sex, little twist on it.
The center will also be having free HIV testing. Along with that, they'll be giving out free lube and condoms.
There'll be two different lines. So there'll be a line to come into and see the haunted house carnival thing. And then the other line will be students who want to go get tested. Have safe sex.
This is Lauren Jackson reporting for UCentral News.
Interesting package to say the least, Lauren. That was a good package from you. And our weather is looking phenomenal this week.
Yes, and I'm loving that rain. Gwyneth will have our first look at weather after the break.
Rugged, rough, built for the road ahead.
Sometimes I feel like a shell of a man.
Commercials are fake. What you're feeling isn't. Call or text 988, Oklahoma's mental health lifeline.
The University of Central Oklahoma grows and thrives. We move forward, daily living the Bronco way, being reflective of our neighborhood, community, history, and Oklahoma. This is what has made us who we are. Oklahoma's Metropolitan University, the third largest university in Oklahoma. This is where movement is. This is the University of Central Oklahoma.
Afternoon, Broncos, and looking at reflectivity right now, that cold front is moving southeast, and with that is coming some very damaging storms. We're looking at massive hail cores there. It's insane, and those winds are very high. We're sitting at 80 miles per hour in some parts of those storms. With that cold front, it's just bringing a lot of pushback from that wind, and it's going to be damaging. You're going to want to look out for that and just keep an eye on the radar as those storms get closer to Edmond. It's projected to hit around 7 p.m. But as we jump over to our current conditions, 82 degrees, still fire weather conditions because of those really high winds. That humidity is pretty high because of those south winds bringing up all that humidity. That might change as that dry line moves through. Our rain is currently at 20% just because of those scattered storms, but that will go up as we go into tonight. As we look across the state right now, as you can see, that's the cold front. That's what's moving towards us, and that's what's going to bring all those storms and that shift in wind. And as we look at tonight, this is when the storms move through. We currently have a tornado watch for Edmond. Once again, keep an eye on that. Our winds are going to be south, gusting at 23 miles per hour until 10 p.m. when that cold front fully moves through. We're going to be at north 10 miles per hour. Our humidity will be at 70%, so it will be pretty humid tonight with those storms, and our rain will be at 68%. As we look at our severe thunderstorm timing, we're looking at 5 to 8 p.m. for Edmond, and it could be pushed back. So once again, keep an eye on that. Tornado threat, medium across Edmond, not looking too good. Looking at tonight across the state, that's when our temperatures really lower. In Guyman, we even see a freeze warning. That's something to keep an eye on because that cold front is bringing really cold temperatures. As we look at our daily forecast, starting off at 7 a.m. tomorrow, 80% humid, 50 degrees. As we go throughout the day tomorrow, it's going to be sunny and really chilly. It's going to start to feel like fall. I don't know about you guys, but I am so excited for this fall weather, and I just hope that we see more. Lauren, Ian?
Looking at that cold front coming in, I'm so excited about these cool weather or these cool temperatures coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the cold front expected to stay, or is it going to go back to hot temperatures in like a day or two?
Yeah, so I'll get into that after, but definitely gonna stay. We're gonna see these fall temperatures start to stick around.
Okay, Gwyneth, thank you so much. Coming up, we will have a full breakdown of the Oklahoma election coverage.
And what kind of questions you can see on the Oklahoma ballot other than the presidential candidates after the break.
Happy birthday! Make a wish.
Miss you guys.
Blue skies smiling at me, talking about blue skies. Do I see bluebirds singing a song, talking about blue skies from now on?
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Are you really sure this is all going to fit? Oh, it'll fit. I got that. All right.
When hauling anything, ensure it's secure. Losing your load is dangerous for all drivers. We want everyone to make it home safe. Help make Oklahoma safe by securing your load.
Welcome back, everyone.
With early voting still happening, we're going to toss it over to Jake Ramsey to break down what Oklahoma voters expect to see on their ballot.
Thank you, Ian and Lauren. I'm Jake Ramsey here to discuss all things election coverage, starting with a breakdown of what Oklahomans can find on their ballot. Here we have an Oklahoma County sample ballot. Aside from the presidential election, Oklahoma voters will also have several categories to vote on. State officers, congressional officers, legislative district and county officers, judicial retention, and 2 state questions are on the ballot. The 2 state questions are SQ 833 and 834. SQ 833 is seeking to improve public infrastructure through proposed bonds. Proponents of the question argue that the public infrastructure districts could take pressure off cities and towns and allow faster development. However, opponents say the increase in taxes will harm taxpayers and put money into the pocket of the developers. SQ 834 is an Oklahoma constitutional amendment. It proposes the change of the phrase, all U.S. citizens may vote, to only U.S. citizens may vote. On to another part of the ballot, judicial retention. Judicial retention has been a hot-button topic in Oklahoma, with outside groups spending at least $3.4 million leading up to the start date of early voting. But how does judicial retention work? When voting on judicial retention, there is not a judicial race. Judges are voted to be retained. If voters choose to oust the justice, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt would get to pick replacements from a pool of nominees recommended by the state's Judicial Nominating Commission. Now, as we mentioned earlier in the show, early voting did start today, and polls are going to be open for about another hour. Going into tomorrow and Friday, polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, looking at our polls, who seems to be leading? Well, yesterday's polls, according to the New York Times and the 538, Harris has a slight lead on Trump going into our national polls. Let's go ahead and zoom in on our national polls. As you can see, it's been a tight race this whole time, with Harris just slightly ahead. Now let's go into our state polls here. We're looking at our swing states. We've got Nevada, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, all even. Trump is leading currently in Pennsylvania. With Michigan, we've got Harris, again, Trump in Georgia, and then with the biggest gap between the 2 presidential candidates, we have Arizona for Trump. Ian, Lauren.
Yeah, I got a quick question about the national and state polls. Which one matters more when it comes to an election like this?
Well, Ian, obviously swing states are very important in a presidential election. They are some of the deciding factors at the end of the day. We've seen it for the past 2 decades in presidential elections, swing states being super important. And as you can see, looking at these numbers here, there is not a big difference between our swing states and our national average. Those gaps are quite close.
Thank you so much, Jake.
Swing states is really what makes an election. Coming up, UCO volleyball is back at home this week.
And the Oklahoma City Thunder are battling a huge opponent. Luke Underwood will have more after the break.
I was raised to believe in the power of possibility, to always move forward but never forget where I came from, to value hard work, ingenuity, and hospitality. On one hand, my people are rough and rugged. On the other, refined and elegant. They taught me how to love beautiful things and cherish my past, to seek out adventure, eat well, and to have a good time. So I keep their traditions alive every place I go. They call me Oklahoma City, but you can call me the modern frontier.
UCentral News as a whole, you got to be in those different areas, like being on camera, being off camera, being in the control room. And so I feel like that is what prepared me most about being in the workplace.
UCentral and the mass comm department has provided me all the tools and the fundamentals that are needed in order to thrive well and thrive fast at my job.
Maybe it's time to hit the road and visit a place where stories unfold. This is the land of the ultimate road trip, with sights old and new on Route 66. There's fun to be had, so much to do, and a few new surprises before you get through. Oklahoma has the most miles to share of Route 66. It's really quite rare. TravelOK.com will show you the way. Come see for yourself this iconic highway.
I am Luke Underwood, and let's get straight into your Wednesday sports stories. The Lady Broncos are back at home this weekend and will be taking on 2 familiar opponents. On Friday, the Lady Broncos will be battling the 8-11 Central Missouri Mules. The Broncos already battled the Mules earlier in the season with a 3-2 victory. And on Saturday, the Missouri Southern Lions are looking for vengeance after they lost the Broncos 3-1. Both games will be at the Hamilton Fieldhouse at 6 p.m. College football has been an exciting roller coaster with many teams struggling to stay conscious. 2 of these teams have been the number 3 ranked Penn State Lions and the number 4 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. These 2 teams will be squaring off against one another on Saturday at 11 a.m. Speaking of games, the number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs are getting in a Gator fight with the Florida Gators. Both teams are smiling a little more with huge wins over Texas and Kentucky respectively. The Gators will be battling the Bulldogs in Georgia at 2:30. And finally, the number 1 ranked Oregon Ducks will be taking on the 2023 national champion Michigan Wolverines. Michigan is coming off a huge victory against the state rivals, and in-state rivals Michigan State. The Ducks versus Wolverines will start at 2:30. Over to the MLB, the 4th game of the World Series has gone underway. The New York Yankees picked up their first win of the series with a dominating 11-4 win over the Los Angeles Dodgers. 2 New York Yankees fans were kicked out of the game after trying to yank the ball out of the glove of right fielder Mookie Betts' hand. The Yankees and Dodgers will meet tonight, once again, at Yankee Stadium. And the Oklahoma City Thunder are in the city tonight. The Thunder are currently undefeated with dominating wins over the Nuggets, Bulls, and Hawks. Tonight's matchup will see the Spurs' Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul facing off against the Thunder's Chet Holmgren and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Spurs are currently 1-2, and they will be incomplete with stars Trey Jones and Devin Vassell out with injury. The game will kick off at 8:30. This is going to be a big matchup and will definitely be worth the watch. Ian, Lauren, who do you think is going to win tonight?
Well, I think the Thunder are going to win for sure. I think the talent that they have with Shai Gilgeous and Chet Holmgren is just going to be unstoppable for the Spurs.
Yeah, how about you, Dylan? Or how about you, Luke?
Well, I personally think that the Thunder will win again tonight. I mean, the stats show it, and SGA and Chet have been on a roll. So Thunder are going to pull out the win.
Thank you so much, Luke. Coming up, Halloween is tomorrow, and which haunted house is the best to go to in the state of Oklahoma?
And Gwyneth Duncan will have our last look at weather.
Rugged, rough, built for the road ahead.
Sometimes I feel like a shell of a man.
Commercials are fake. What you're feeling isn't. Call or text 988, Oklahoma's mental health lifeline.
How much difference can one vote make? Since 2023, more than 60 U.S. elections have been tied or won by just one vote. So this fall, you or a friend could be the tiebreaker. And that could make all the difference. People are more likely to vote when encouraged by a friend. So use your power to decide this election. Make sure you're good to vote and encourage your friends to make a voting plan at votevotevote.com.
The University of Central Oklahoma grows and thrives. We move forward, daily living the Bronco way, being reflective of our neighborhood, community, history, and Oklahoma. This is what has made us who we are. Oklahoma's Metropolitan University, the third largest university in Oklahoma. This is where movement is. This is the University of Central Oklahoma.
Welcome back. Earlier in the month, our crew was discussing possible Halloween packages, and I had mentioned that I had never been to a haunted house before, so to my chagrin, I went out to Guthrie to see one of the scariest haunted houses in the state.
All Hallows Eve is tomorrow, and one of the best parts about the spooky season is going to a haunted house. Guthrie Haunts gave us a full behind-the-scenes tour of the grounds and spoke with us about one of the scariest venues in the state.
All original, real props. Like in our embalming scene, the embalming table that's in there is an actual real embalming table. The wardrobe in the bedroom in the other end of the house is from the movie The Exorcist.
Man, this place is amazing. So it's one of the scariest, longest haunted houses in Oklahoma. But what I really like about it is we have this Midway Carnival that we put on. So you can come out, have a good time in the carnival. We call up groups to the door, so there's no big line wait. After you go through the haunt, which takes about 25 to 30 minutes, you come back in the carnival, watch the fire shows, watch the side shows.
The attraction has a great work environment, and a strong family bond connects the crew.
We try to take care of each other and make sure everybody's good. John really takes care of us here. He treats us really good.
And if you're wondering if it's really scary, well, take a look at this.
Oh no. I'm scared right now, guys. Leave me alone. Ah! 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 Way! Oh! Oh my gosh!
For UCentral News, I'm Ian Nickel.
Oh my goodness, that was so good.
Thank you, and thank you again to the people at Guthrie Haunts for the access. If you like getting scared, you ought to go down there. Gwyneth has our last look at weather for the evening. Gwyneth, take it away.
Thank you, guys. And looking at that 7-day, tomorrow Halloween is going to be lovely. We're sitting at 67 degrees, no chance of rain. We are getting a warm front into Friday, though. It's going to bring those temperatures up just a little bit. And then another cold front Friday night into Saturday. This is where our rain chances ramp up. We have a chance for flooding on Saturday because of how much rain we're going to get. going into next week, and it's looking like rain every day. I'm just really excited for this forecast because we haven't really seen any activity since then. So that's all I have for today's weather. Back to you guys at the desk.
Man, I am looking forward to that rain. Thank you so much, Gwyneth. And unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this Wednesday edition of UCentral News. For now, I'm Ian Nickel.
And I'm Lauren Jackson. Have a great Wednesday night.